Now, for those who don't believe in the devil, let me tell you something. He exists. You want to know why? Because Michael Bay, the worst of the most well-known directors out there, continues to get work and continues to make a lot of money in his movies inexplicably. Now, the only thing I can think of to prove my point is that he must have shaken hands with the devil, because that's the only way he finds the success that he's had. Because I just don't get it. With that, I welcome you to another episode of The Real Mentor, where my goal is always to enhance your movie watching experience, because that's what a good mentor does. Now, I got a chance to see 13 Hours, which is Michael Bay's newest movie, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I was dreading watching this movie. Michael Bay is garbage for the most part. He has a couple movies early on, I get it, The Rock, Bad Boys was okay and all that. Some people like Armageddon, I wasn't a big fan, but I gotta say, I saw the movie, and as much as my expectations were down to the ground, honestly, and I can't believe I'm saying it, it wasn't that bad. Now, I realize that not that bad for him doesn't really mean much, given his repertoire of movies we've seen recently, especially Transformers 5, 4, whatever it is, disaster, the movie that was. So it's surprising me to come out and say I actually kind of enjoyed this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but he does a halfway decent job here. Now, 13 Hours, of course, tells us the true life story which happened in 2012 in Libya, specifically in Benghazi, where there were 6 soldiers who were forced to defend the U.S. consulate against an attack of Islamic militants right after Gaddafi had passed away, and there's always, was killed anyway, and there's always chaos in Libya and what have you. So it was actually an interesting story. Most of you probably have heard about it if you're not familiar with it. There's actually a book about it. And Michael Bay, I think, succeeds in this movie because he's got source material which kind of corrals him. He doesn't have free reign to tell a fictional story and give us girls dancing around half naked or stupid adolescent humor. You know, he's corralled by the story, and he has to treat the source material with some sort of respect. Now, 13 Hours doesn't have any big names in it, and I think that's a good thing, because it doesn't take away from your watch. You don't get distracted by seeing a big star, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, anything like that. It's headlined mainly by John Krasinski and David Denham, both who are, coincidentally enough, are from The Office. If you guys are a big fan of the show, I know I am. Of course, Jim and Roy, who at the time were competing for Pam Beezy's affection, but in this movie they're actually teaming up to fight against the Islamic militants. And surprisingly enough, they both do a really good job, particularly Krasinski, who is a way different role than we normally see him at. Is more comedic role. In this one, he's tough, he's weathered, he does a lot of emotional range in the movie, and it's good to see him that way. Actually, this guy's actually very talented, and I'd like to see him in more stuff moving forward. Now, although this movie isn't half bad, again, make no mistake, there's some things that Michael Bay does get right. He's always been good at action, big budgets, he knows how to handle that. Granted, he's a little bit exaggerated with explosions and the spinning cameras and what have you, and sometimes a little too frantic pace. But here, again, he's more corralled. He has learned to kind of keep the action a little bit further away, keep the camera steady, which really serves this movie a great deal. And he doesn't go over the top. There are a couple cool scenes, a couple of Michael Bayisms in there, but not as much as you would think, in particular the movie where there is so much action in it. Now, which is a little bit of the problem, because it's a little bit uneven. The first hour was a little bit off. He kind of throws some little small action sequences, which really didn't make any sense. It didn't really add to the story. It would have been better served him building a nice narrative, which is his biggest weakness. He doesn't know how to really build characters, and a lot of these guys in the movie you want to root for, but all he does to make you root for him is to say, these guys have family, they have kids, poor guys, I hope they can make it, as opposed to giving us some characters with depth, people you really give a shit about. And he doesn't really do that. Not that I'm really surprised. But the last hour of the film is action-packed, and what he does is kind of, again, control himself. He does put in some moments which kind of slow the action down to give you time to breathe and kind of take a step back as far as what's going on before he gets back into it. A lot of great moments of tension, a lot of great shots and good graphic, situations, and you have blood and people's arms falling off and what have you. It's a war movie, it's the kind of thing you want to see in this flick anyway. If he's not going to give you a good story, a good narrative, at least give you some great action, and he does do that, and it's entertaining for the most part, and it really ends well. It should have been much better when it was. There's movies on the same lines as a Black Hawk Down or a Lone Survivor, which were better movies with some of the subject matter, with obviously with insurmountable odds by a few shoulders going against obviously enemies and what have you. But this one is the same tone, not quite as good as those, clearly, because he fails in giving you great characters. They're just one-dimensional, and again, you're there to see the action. It is an interesting premise, a great story, a true story anyway, and it's fascinating to see what happened and all that, considering this was true, and like, wow, these guys were badasses, these guys were true heroes, and not all of them make it out alive, and you know, you wish it had more impact in the end than what it did, but he still did a fine job. So overall, I can't believe I'm about to say this again, I'm actually going to, excuse me. Okay, deep breath. I'm actually gonna recommend, I said it, recommend this movie for you guys out there to actually go watch. It's not great, but good enough. Great action if you like war flicks, if you like the movies in line with the Black Hawk Down. This one's very similar. It's entertaining, particularly the last hour. It's actually well done. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like a Michael Bay movie, which says a lot because he signatures all over his movies, and that's not a good thing. So I actually recommend this movie to go watch it. You know, it's something different out in the theaters now. You get some enjoyment out of it. If you're not into war flicks, don't bother. If Michael Bay bothers you that much, don't bother. But if you don't care about him, most casual fans don't anyway, you're gonna have a good time with this movie. You're actually gonna enjoy it. It is a good story to watch, and like I said, it does end. The last hour does end very well. So, you know, if you're there, go see it. Let me know what you guys think. As always, comment below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Keep feeding my needs to go to the movies and talk about it afterwards. Follow me, of course, at Twitter, @TheRealMentor. See you guys next time.